It's a big week in the NFC West. We have the Harbaugh Bowl. We're picking all the games today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins. Wow. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app and use code LOCKEDONNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5.
Week 12, the 2024 NFL season is upon us. Joe, as you mentioned, the Harbaugh Bowl on Monday Night Football. This is the first time we've had a Harbaugh Bowl since the Super Bowl, right? Is that the last time they coached against each other?
I would think so, yeah.
Obviously the 49ers and Ravens, a Ravens victory in that Super Bowl. We have a lot of NFC West ramifications with the Cardinals and Seahawks playing each other. But then the Rams are hosting the Eagles and the Packers are hosting the 49ers. So NFC has a lot of big games that are set to unfold. And then we have a lot of big spreads otherwise, courtesy of our friends over at FanDuel, that we're going to explore here on the show today as well. If you're not familiar with the Thursday format in season, Joe and I pick the games straight up, and we preview them as best as we possibly can within the time that we are allotted to create content on this program. The show, courtesy of the power rankings that we set at the beginning of the season, which is determined and calculated by the quality of the players as we grade the players, because we spend a day for 3 months in the offseason looking at each team under a deep microscope. There's a formula that we have with our power rankings, and we apply that to create our own spreads, and the show determines whether or not to take the spreads on FanDuel based on the point differential of their spreads versus our spreads. The show thus far this season, Joe, it had a really hot end of October, beginning of November. It's currently picking 55% of games correctly against the spread. So our goal is to outpace that, obviously, because we're not picking against the spread. So let's start with the Steelers-Browns game on Thursday Night Football. Short week, divisional game at home, all of the cliches, but the Steelers are on the road as they look to extend their lead in the AFC North.
I think the Steelers will be just fine. Their big play defense, their ability to run the ball, the way Russ is playing. Cleveland, I like the Steelers to handle their business in this one.
So Cleveland, obviously, he kind of saw some signs of life with Jameis, and then this past week they lost a really ugly game to New Orleans. And it just does not give you a lot of confidence that out of the bye, your defense gave up 473 points and 200 plus rushing yards on the ground, right? Like that is a testament to the current state of the entirety of this roster and kind of where they're at from a frame of mind perspective. I agree with you. I think the momentum keeps rolling here. And because it's, I'd probably take Pittsburgh up to 6 or 7 points. The show is taking Pittsburgh to cover -3.5. But I'm surprised this spread amongst a week in which you have a lot of like touchdown field goal favorites. I'm surprised this number is this small.
Yeah. Short week on the road, I think probably factors in division.
I've watched a divisional game short week on the road and team going to win by 21 points,
Well, you look at the Browns, they were able to beat the Ravens earlier under similar circumstances, right? So I think that's probably what influences this line. But yeah, if I were to bet the line, I think Steelers cover this one pretty safely.
So let's shift to the other north, the Minnesota Vikings. Going into Chicago coming off of what's the best adjective to describe the way that they lost to Green Bay last week? Heartbreaking's not it's not enough. It needs to be worse than heartbreaking.
Yeah, because it felt like a lot was riding on that result. Like you felt like you could really make a run for one of the wild card spots if you can get that one, and to lose it like you did is tough. But in this matchup, it's at Chicago, which certainly helps. I just think the idea of Flores defense against Caleb Williams is just nightmare fuel, man. And this is their first matchup. Play again the week before Christmas, if I'm not mistaken. But
on Monday night.
Boy. I look, Sam Darnold's still opportunistic. I don't trust him, but vibes are bad in Chicago, and Minnesota keeps finding a way. I think Minnesota wins.
I want to pick Chicago.
Do it.
Logic does not tell me to pick Chicago, so therefore I'm not going to pick Chicago. But this is that time of year where, like, there's enough ball game left. Like, some teams just pack it in, right? I don't think Chicago's there yet. I think the vibes are bad, but I think the way that they played against Green Bay is a perfect testament of, like, I mean, they ran the ball for 200 yards against Green Bay.
I think they got a little play caller bump. Little play caller bump, you know?
Yeah, but you think that's just going to go away in 1 week after scoring almost as many points as they did in the previous 3 games combined?
I think a Flores defense that's pretty good at stopping the run. You know, this is the number 2 in rush yards per attempt, least amount of rushing yards allowed for the season. I don't think they got the right stuff, man.
I'm in. All right. I'm going to ride with you here. The show likes Minnesota to cover on the road as well. So we'll see. This was that kind of felt like the spreads that got the show in trouble last week was a couple of road favorites. But we're going to go ahead and set the stage for our next game, another NFC showcase. This one between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New York Giants. The Bucs favored on the road by 5.5 points. Sounds like Mike Evans is making some positive momentum towards a return, which really bad timing for the Giants, who will be starting Tommy DeVito as their flavor of choice at the quarterback position. And you could stop me at the Giants are starting Tommy DeVito. I will be picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa. Yeah, Tampa on the road. I know that they got their own issues defensively, but you want to talk about an opportunity to get right. Let's go play the Giants after they're swapping their third quarterback to be their first quarterback.
We haven't really talked about this decision all that much. Unserious decision.
You know what it is.
Yeah,
they don't want to pay the guarantees to Daniel Jones. They don't want to pay the money to Drew Lock.
Not wanting to pay the guarantees to Drew Lock is such a ridiculous hill to die on.
Every free agent, take notice that if you go to the New York Giants and you're the backup and you compete to be the backup and you're the backup all season long, that they'll do this to you. That's pure crap. It's pure crap to the players. Drew Lock went there for this moment, right? You knew Daniel Jones was shaky. You knew he was shaky. He went because you thought he'd have a chance to play, and you said, you know what? Here's a stiff arm. You're not going in. That's crap, buddy.
Yeah, he
invested
a year of his career trying to get back on the horse.
Total crap.
Brian Daboll, and they pulled the rug out from under him like this for Tommy DeVito so that they could still be somewhat relevant because the fans like the memes that come with DeVito.
Garbage.
The show's going to pile on. The show's picking the Bucs minus 5.5 on the road. So that's 3 straight road.
Beat them by 100. Beat them by 100, Tampa, please.
Bucs by $1 billion.
Please.
It's usually Bills by $1 billion. It's Bucs by $1 billion.
Bucs by $1 billion. The Bills are off this week. Give me the $1 billion to the Bucs.
All right. Let's go to break, and then we'll go to South Florida. The Dolphins hosting the Patriots.
Stick with us. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month, pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. Use Built points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points toward a flight or hotel stay with over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them towards a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built points have consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the Point Guys and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you join Built.com/LockedOnNFL. That's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure to use our URL so they know that we sent you. Use joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL to start earning points with your rent payments today. Folks, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5. You get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. And folks, all the lines that we're talking about today were from this morning on FanDuel. So if you like them, go get in on the action. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Yeah, don't wait. There's usually good 2 hours after we drop the show. We're diluted enough on this show to think that us talking about the games is what's going to facilitate any line movement.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, perfect sense.
So the Dolphins hosting the Patriots. The Dolphins at 4-6, a couple of wins in the last 2 wins in 6 days. Getting ready for a Thursday night game in Thanksgiving against the Packers. This divisional matchup looming. New England. Sounds like Joe's picking the Dolphins.
They've been doing good in this series, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the last 8.
I have a trivia question for you.
Yeah.
When's the last time Tua Tagovailoa lost the New England Patriots?
Oh boy, it's never happened. I'm pretty sure of it.
It's never happened.
Pretty sure that's never happened. Even going back to some Belichick stuff, right?
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep. So he obviously missed the first game this year in week 5. That was the Tyler Huntley.
Did they
win?
Okay.
They won.
That's a shame. You could have added another dub against the Patriots.
So Drake May did not start the first time these two teams played. So that I think is a big wild card for this game. I think you look at the Dolphins and some of their success. They had some issues finishing, getting Gardner Minshew on the ground in some pressure opportunities. You extend that to the 2 losses they've had since Tua came back, the Cardinals and the Bills. There were opportunities to put those quarterbacks on the ground that they could not finish. So I think Drake May getting out of initial pressure and extended plays is kind of the big thing, I think, for the Dolphins defense. But I do think the Dolphins have enough to win the game. Sounds like Alec Ingold, their fullback, is going to be a game-time decision. He's a big piece of what their run success looks like. He's been out the last 2 weeks. They've struggled to run the ball without him. So there's some pieces for Miami that are not ideal, but I think they get it done. The question is, what do you think the show likes here? 7.5. Big number.
I think they'd probably pick Patriots to cover that.
They do pick the Patriots to cover a 7.5 point spread.
Are we assuming my pick? Have I already made my pick? Because I had like a fun thing to say.
You were singing the song as I was trying to intro the game.
Oh,
so, yeah,
wow. Imagine that singing while you're trying to do something on this podcast. It's never happened to me for sure. 4 of the last 6 games, the Miami Dolphins have held their opponent under 20 points. Make it 5 of the last 7. Dolphins defense is good, man. I like it. I like what they got going, and they don't even have their guys. I hope Coach Weaver gets a head coaching job.
Dude. After 2025, give him 1 year of consecutive defensive coordinators with Mike McDaniel.
Nah, we don't want that for sure.
All right, Texans. Speaking of home division games with a 7.5 point home favorite, the Texans are hosting the Titans and favored in the 1 o'clock slate by 7.5 points as well.
Boy, I might like them to cover that.
Titans?
Yeah, I think the Texans win, but I mean, Levis has played a little bit better. I think the Texans defense kind of stinks. CJ Stroud's certainly not playing that good right now. And the best thing that Houston has is their rushing offense, it feels like, and Titans can stop the run. Like, I think that Tennessee probably covers that.
Some compelling matchups for this game. And as you mentioned, Houston, they've kind of been up and down. They've lost 3 of their last 5, right? And that included a close Packers loss, losing to the Jets where they blew a late lead in that game. They lose close to Detroit. They blew a lead in that game. I just think the Titans are I don't trust their ball security against a defense for Houston that's really humming, creating turnovers. Now, they've been porous at times. They've been porous in the run defense at times, but they have 4 turnovers against the Pats, 3 turnovers against the Packers, 2 against the Colts, 1 against the Jets, 5 against the Lions, and 2 against the Cowboys. I think all of that trending, I know it's a very unstable stat. I think the Texans get enough to get it done. The show does like the Titans to cover 7.5 on the road.
Yeah, I'm in on a Houston win, Titans cover. I might do a little parlay going here with some of these covers.
Great.
Yeah.
Likewise. Chiefs in Carolina. Bryce Young's back. They've told us Bryce Young's back. Chiefs favored by 10.5 points. Chiefs obviously coming off of a loss. Worst possible thing that could have ever happened to the Carolina Panthers, other than Dave Tepper buying the team, is to get the Chiefs off a loss.
So let's see what this looks like. Since 2018, which is when Patrick Mahomes became the starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. After a loss, Kansas City is 20-4. That's the best win percentage in the NFL, 83.3%. Number 2 is the Bills, 66%. So they have like almost a 20-point lead in win percentage off of a loss. You know the worst team off the loss is in the NFL since 2018?
Probably a team that's lost a lot of football games. I will say the team that's lost more games than any team in the NFL over that stretch of time.
I don't know.
Well, actually, I
don't know who that is, but
my stat research goes back to 15 based off a story that I wrote for 30.
This might work out. What team is it?
It's the Jets.
Jets are third worst. Jacksonville. Jacksonville's the worst team in the league after a loss since 2018. They're 19-52. Boy, you're going another loss.
They lost like 20-something straight games.
Right.
And then they beat both of our teams in a 3-week stretch.
We'll always have that. We'll always have
Josh Allen over Josh Allen and a kicker that never made a kick before in his life, kicking 2 50-plus yard field goals in London to beat the Dolphins. So
beautiful things.
The Chiefs the show likes the Chiefs to cover 10.5 as well. A big number, but the show is undaunted by 10.5.
I wonder if there's any tickets available. You think I can get to that one on Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, I think you could probably walk in and sit wherever you like.
Well, maybe let's go.
Treat like training camp. Just go stand next to some of the players on the.
Hey, Matt Rule's no longer walking through those doors.
Commanders hosting the Cowboys. The Cowboys staying with Cooper Rush. Mike McCarthy would like you to know that the Cowboys deserve to win.
There's only one way you deserve to win is if you have more points at the end of the game. No, I haven't heard that, but you made me stop in my tracks when you said that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so it's like these players, these coaches, they deserve to win. They just like talk about like the season optics. I don't know the exact context of the question, but I remember hearing it, and McCourty was on Pro Football Talk earlier in the week, and they played the soundbite, and he was like, he was aghast by the statement.
Is he trying to like celebrate the effort that exists?
That's kind of the general.
Yeah, don't confuse effort with results. I'm sure everyone's working hard there in Dallas, but you either win or you don't, right? It's a results-based league, and I hate to use a Rex Ryan quote because I genuinely don't like that man, but he had a good one, and it's don't confuse effort with results. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I kind of vibe with that.
I think you need to soften your stance on Bill Belichick. You could probably soften your stance on Rex Ryan a little bit.
Never been so embarrassed to be a fan of a team than the 2 years that I had to deal with Rex Ryan as my head coach.
Anyway.
Get fully pregnant. Come on, dude. Get it. You can't.
Washington. I think we're both picking Washington to win the game, no?
Yeah, you think Dallas covers 10.5, though? I think there's a chance of that.
I think there's a decent chance they cover that just because Washington's been down a little bit offensively recently. Yeah. The show actually does like Dallas to cover 10.5. It's a big number. Our last 1 o'clock game?
Yeah, let's squeeze it in. This shouldn't take long.
Yeah. Lions, Colts.
Lions. Questions by how many? That's the only question for the Lions. Are we winning by 10, 40?
The Lions are on like a top 10 historical point differential pace right now.
Fully aware of all of it. Yeah.
They're smoking teams.
Yeah.
I think it continues. I think they smoke the Colts. The show thinks they smoke the Colts. The show is taking lines to cover -7.5 on the road.
Just playing with their food, but like playing with their food because they know they're going to eat it in one bite. It's insane. Absolutely insane. All right. We got big 4:00 slate, big NFC West, the Harbaugh Bowl, all of it on the other side of it. Be sure to stick with us. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Folks, I could not be more thankful for my wife. She's incredible. Does so much for our family. She's loving. She's devoted. Awesome to me and our kids. This month is all about gratitude, and there's another person we don't get to thank enough, and that's ourselves. It's sometimes hard to remind ourselves that we are trying to make sense of everything that's going on in this crazy world, and that's not always easy. Here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people in your life, including yourself. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It's not just for those who've experienced major trauma. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you do is fill out a brief questionnaire. That'll get you matched with a licensed therapist. And you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn.
So I know we got to go, but we only got 5 games. I want to ask you, did you have any emotional reaction when you found out ESPN's canceling Around the Horn?
Boy, I hadn't watched that since middle school, probably.
But it was a staple in middle school, wasn't it?
Yeah, I get off the bus and come home and fire that up. And
Bill Plaschke.
Yeah, and you see the points going on. Yeah, I definitely like it. Yeah, I mean, I feel like all the stuff I used to watch, I don't watch any of the stuff. None of it. So
I think the golden era of Around the Horn though was it's cool seeing, like, I see people I know now.
Yeah,
like Marcel Louis Jacques is
super
on
cool, yeah.
Around the Horn. Like that stuff like that's really cool.
Yeah,
but
I just beat Marcel in fantasy football this past week, actually.
Yeah,
I'm
gonna have to give him a hard time.
Club Dub, baby, let's go.
Hey,
I got to 4-7. I got a chance here, you know.
Let's go. I am in a dynasty league with Matt Miller, and I'm 9-2.
You are?
Yeah.
That's not the league where you have Kincaid and Laporta, I can tell.
No, that's the hometown redraft league with the auction. I'm 5-6 in that one.
You can't be last in that one. You got some bad punishments for that, right?
It's a 10K this year. You do a 10K.
10K.
The 10K, and the rest of the league picks your outfit for the 10K.
A 10K.
Yeah, they're kicking around the idea of making you running in full pads. So,
my God, that's tough. Because you got, I mean, 10K is not something you just wake up and do, you know.
Right. But and then you got to do maybe do it in full pads.
Oh, it's so good. That's so good.
So, look forward to everybody. If you feel free, borrow it. Everybody comes up with a punishment. We spin the wheel, and that's it. So we don't know what the punishment is until the wheel selects on draft night.
Oh, that's good. You guys do fun stuff. That's fun.
Yeah,
I wouldn't like that because I wouldn't want to. I just couldn't.
It's very nerve inducing to know, like, the first 2 months of the season is just, I got to get the 5 wins.
Yeah.
So that I'm kind of out of the strike zone of being in last place.
Did you see what Luke Combs did to his fantasy league? The loser of Luke Combs' fantasy league had to come on and sing a song
on stage.
Yeah, he did it at Cincinnati, at Cincinnati Bengals Stadium, whatever the heck it's called. Had to get up there and sing a song.
It's not great.
Could you do that with like 60,000 in attendance?
No, I could not.
Oh, God.
All right. Raiders, Broncos. I think we put off talking about this game long enough. Most of the games in this block are pretty interesting. Raiders, Broncos really is not.
Right.
But
I mean, you
it's kind of weird. Like,
it's a division game, yeah.
Raiders also came out with a lot of really good stuff out of the bye. As much as we dogged them for bringing flying North Turner out and living in Scott's basement so that he could be a senior assistant as Scott is the OC. The Raiders out of the bye, they did a lot of nice stuff. Very simplified offense. They didn't have a lot of juice on the ground, but they found a lot of ways to get the ball in Brock Bowers' hands, and they ran the offense through him, and they were very creative and a step ahead for all the adjustments of how the Dolphins tried to cover him. And Minshew played, I thought, well. His interception was a miscommunication with the receiver on what way he was going to break out of a route. I could see this being close, but I'm going to pick the Broncos because of the momentum they have as a football team right now.
I agree. Bo Nix is playing well. Defense continues to play well. I hate that it's on the road. But 7 feels aggressive, or 6.5.
6.5. 6.5.
But I like that.
The show likes the Raiders to cover as well at home.
Yeah.
So it's on a road dog there, but you and I are both on the Broncos. Okay, 49ers Packers. A desperate 49ers team. Playing in Green Bay.
They've won this game in the playoffs, it feels like a few years, right? I guess it's it
was like the blocked punt, like 13-10 or whatever it was game where Green Bay scored on like their opening possession and then they couldn't move the ball the rest of the game in the divisional round. It was super cold that night.
They've played 3 times since 2020 in the playoffs. And the 49ers have won every time.
Yeah, I'd be so sick of that team if I was a Packers fan.
That's tough, man. That's tough.
But this is not the same this is not the same 49ers team.
Right.
Have you seen their splits, like defensively, as the game goes on, like by quarter?
No, what is it?
They're like a top 10 team in the first and second quarter defensively. I think EPA is the measure that they have. They're like 28th in the league in the fourth quarter.
Oh.
And the running joke is they hired Brandon Staley to be on staff.
That's good.
So I guess the Brandon Staley effect is in full force for the 49ers as the game wears on. Kittle's going to play, it sounds like.
That matters.
That matters a lot. Packers have some questions on defense. I think I'm going to pick the 49ers. I don't feel good about it at all. I would not touch this game in real life. But we have to pick it for the show. I think I'm going to take the 49ers.
I'm going with Green Bay.
Okay, we're going to be different. The show likes the 49ers to cover. Plus 1.5. The Cardinals, 1.5 point favorites in Seattle against the Seahawks. NFC West matchup. This is 425.
Seattle's one of the most bipolar teams in the league. I don't know what to think of them on a weekly basis, but I like what's going on with Arizona. They've won 4 in a row. They've won 5 of 6. Defense is humming. Offensively, they run the ball. They got some opportunistic plays in the passing game. I just don't trust Seattle at all, especially at home. I think they've lost like 4 in a row at home.
Yeah, they've not been good at home,
which is not supposed to be the case if you're Seattle. I think Arizona goes on the road and wins this one.
Well, especially Arizona coming out of the bye, too. So you get a little extra preparation for this game.
It's a great point.
Seattle coming off a big win against San Francisco. I think that's maybe a potential letdown spot. I know it's a divisional game. I know you're playing for like potentially, hypothetically, a tie for first place in the division. Like I get all that's on the line, but I'm riding with you on the Cardinals. And the show likes the Cardinals to cover the spread as well. I'm a little worried about like Seattle and their offensive line. I think the big talent discrepancy for Arizona right now relative to how they're performing is who they have up front. I don't think Seattle's in a good position to take advantage of that.
Right.
The Eagles visiting LA on Sunday Night Football, favored by 2.5 points to play the Rams, who are coming off of a scarier than it needed to be victory over the Patriots. This came down to the final possession for the Patriots and Rams.
Yeah, it's a shame that kicker missed like a 27-yard field goal. It could have been a little more comfortable there. I'm riding the Eagles in this one, dude. I like the way they're playing. They have extended rest. They played Thursday night last week as well, which I think is helpful. I just think defensively it's really coming together for Philly. I mean, they haven't given up. Holy smokes, they haven't given up 16 points. Well, they gave up 23 to Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else has tagged them for more than 18 points in the last 6 games since their bye week.
Yeah, Fangio's on a hot little run here. I mean, you look at total defense.
His pressure stuff's been really good, too.
Yep.
DeJean on turnovers. How about 11. Zach Bond this year, dude? He's been unbelievable.
I don't know that I'm that surprised. I remember Zach at Wisconsin and Washington.
Right, but then he was in the Saints for 4 years and didn't do a thing. He's always a good player, though.
Curse you, Dennis Allen.
Right.
Who else have we been neglected of seeing fulfilled over there?
Right, for them. Peyton Turner, let's get him out.
Let's get him out now. Right. I kind of want to pick the Rams. I kind of do. Philly, obviously, they're on a heater. They've won 6 in a row. This is a West Coast trip for them. The Rams with Stafford, I think, can show out in any given week. I think them getting some of their guys back on the offensive line, it's taken a couple of weeks. Stafford was unbelievable with the anticipation stuff against the Patriots. I think they have enough offensive weapons where they can kind of offset some of how good Quinyon Mitchell's playing. He's been unbelievable for the Eagles, which is not a surprise if you watch his tape at Toledo and then watch him at the Senior Bowl. But I digress. It's a conversation for another day. Give me the Rams, and it's a gut feeling. The show likes the Eagles to cover the spread at -2.5. But Philly obviously has extra rest coming into this game because they played on Thursday last week. But give me the Rams. I think it's separation season in the NFC West. I think the Rams are going to be up to the challenge. Which takes us to the Harbaugh Bowl. Baltimore's favored by 3 against the Chargers. The Chargers, coming off their, speaking of games that didn't have to be as stressful as they were.
Yep.
The game against the Bengals, in which the Chargers smoked them in the first half. And then Bengals came all the way back, looked like they were going to win the game. Chargers make a few key plays at the end. And the Ravens really struggled against Pittsburgh last week. What are your thoughts?
I think this comes down to the Chargers defense against the Ravens offense. The Chargers can run the ball. Ravens can stop the run. Ravens can't really stop the pass. And the Chargers can kind of throw it. But I think the biggest thing here is what answers do the Chargers have against the Baltimore offense? And the Chargers defense has been statistically good. But the question we've had all season long is has it just been a matter of they've been playing some kind of lousy offenses? They played a decent Bengals offense, and they gave up 27 points. Mm-hmm. I think that Baltimore is going to be able to score at a rate that Los Angeles will not be able to stay with them. Put me down for a Ravens win, especially with them coming off a loss. Remember what happened last time they came off a loss? They smoked the Broncos. Didn't matter how good that Broncos defense was. They scored like 1 million points. It was
41 to 10 or something like that.
It was a lot to a little is what it was.
I think this is a big bounce back for Baltimore as well. Chargers obviously playing good defense, but I think the ways in which Pittsburgh was able to press their feet to the fire, I don't think the Chargers will be able to replicate. And as a result, I think the game script, as it accelerates, it kind of gets away from the Chargers. Maybe they get away from some of the stuff that they want to do offensively. So I'm with you. Ravens win the game.
There's such an interesting defensive coach dynamic here, right? Where it's like Minter, who's from that McDonald tree. Zach Orr's there.
Minter knows the ins and outs.
Yeah. Baltimore's offense is too different, though. I don't think
Ravens. The show's on the Ravens as well. So there you have it. That is week 12 of the 2024 NFL season. The Jaguars, Bengals, Falcons, Bills, Jets, and Saints are on their buys this week. We hope you enjoyed this preview. Takes on takes tomorrow. Joe's going to solicit all of your hot takes on social media. Leave your hot takes. We will respond to your hot takes tomorrow on the show. I'm Kyle Krabs. He is Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. We're out of here.